Well, welcome to small group leader training for this semester. As those of you who know me, my name is Dean Libby, and I'm excited that you have agreed to be a small group leader this semester. I hope that as your semester progresses, that the folks in your group find ways to connect not only to our church, but to their own spiritual life and the ways in which God is calling them to grow deeper in their faith. And I hope that you, as small group leaders, have the opportunity to lead them in that direction. And so this is the first part of your journey as a small group leader, is small group leader training. So I hope that you have printed out and have a copy with you of the small group leader training packet. All you got to do is print it out, and then on the front it just has a place for your name and your team leader. So write your name and I am your team leader, and then you'll be good to go. Once you have that ready to go, then we'll jump right in. So the first thing that you'll notice as you open it up is some important dates for this semester of small groups. And so right there, fall 2018, small group important dates. First is that signups started on Sunday, August 5th, and so that has already happened, and we already have a bunch of people that have signed up for small groups. And we continue each day to get new emails and folks coming into the office to sign up for small groups. And so your list is changing constantly, and I will update you on a weekly basis with the information that I have. And so please be checking your email for that information, and then getting in touch with those folks that sign up. We also have the small group tables, the sign-up tables that are outside the sanctuary and outside the Ignite Worship Center, and folks can go to those places and they can see a sample of the curriculum, and they can sign up right then and there. And if you or if I am at one of those tables, then we have the opportunity to ask somebody about if they have a question, or ask them to sign up for our group. And I'll talk more about that in just a little bit. So the semester for our fall 2018 groups begins the week of September 4th, which is right after Labor Day. So if your group meets on a Tuesday, then you will begin meeting on September 4th. That'll be your first meeting, and I'll talk to you about what that initial meeting looks like in a little bit. But if you have a Sunday group, I'm going to suggest that you begin meeting the following Sunday, September 9th. Just to roll with all the other groups. So if you're so September 4th is the first week that groups will meet, and then they'll kick off at that point and roll on for the rest of the semester. Next, you're going to see that the small group huddle is scheduled for Sunday, October 7th. Go ahead and put that on your calendar right now at 10 o'clock in the morning down in the Family Life Center. I want you to be there and be ready to talk to me that morning about what's going on in your group, how we can help you with finishing out the semester. If there's any questions that we haven't already dived into and explored and figured out, this would be a great time to check in and see how things are going, and then I want to set you up for a successful finish to the semester as Christmas gets closer. So go ahead and put that on your calendar, Sunday, October 7th at 10 o'clock in the morning down in the Family Life Center. And then you'll see that the first week of December, the week of Monday, December 3rd, is the final week for groups to meet. So if your group meets through that following Sunday, then that would be your last week to meet. Those are great weeks to have your end of semester party if you don't already have it scheduled for another time. That hopefully all of your content has been handled by that point, and you have the opportunity to celebrate the end of your semester. And again, I'll talk about celebrating in just a little bit. And then as we begin processing and planning for the 2019 spring semester, you see a couple of dates there, one in January when this training for the next semester is available, and then also the date that went in February when groups kick off again for the spring semester. So go ahead and put those dates on your calendar, because they're important for you. They're important for your group members to know about, and good things to have on the way. Now that we've got calendar things out of the way, you can You can close your calendar app, or you can put your calendar aside. And here's, I want to remind you of a few things. Every time I do this training, we spend some portion of time talking about things that are steady, things that are consistent each semester, about why we do groups and how we do groups. And then in our last video, you'll see some new content, and I'm excited about that, and I can't wait for you to see that. But I want to first dive in as to why we do groups here at First Church. So small groups are important because they fit in line with our mission statement. The mission statement of the First United Methodist Church in Sulphur Springs is to love God, live grace, and serve others. If everything that we do falls into those three categories and meets those three criteria, then we are living out the mission of our church. And so groups do that in real and practical ways. They help us through study, through examining Scripture, through examining our own hearts and our relationship with God. They help us to love God. We begin to live grace when we extend forgiveness to one another, and we are enabled to disagree with people around issues, but still live in community with them. And then part of our DNA in our church and in our small groups is serving together and serving people in our community and in our church. And so groups have a vital way to live into this mission. There you begin to see the fill-ins. So the first one, one of the reasons we do small groups is that people cannot grow in isolation. And isolation is different than solitude. Isolation is this feeling of being alone, of that there's nobody else with you. And so people, Christians can't grow when they feel like there's nobody else. Now, you can read your Bible by yourself and you can pray by yourself, but that's different than being in isolation. Isolation is this feeling of loneliness. It's a feeling that nobody cares about you, and groups draw people together so that that feeling of isolation begins to dissipate. People begin to do life together. And that's one of the reasons we do groups. And then the other thing is that as our church grows larger, we have to grow smaller at the same time. So as more people begin to come in our doors and worship with us on Sunday mornings, as our worship services continue to grow, and as we attract more people and we grow numerically that way, we have to find ways to create smaller communities that we call groups where people are growing together. So we have to grow large and we have to grow small at the same time. And groups help us do that. They help us move people from the seats in worship to around a living room, or around a restaurant table, or around a group of couches, or even a conference room table, where life can be done together. And people ask questions of one another and find out what's really going on with them. And that way you get to be known, and somebody knows your story, and you get to return the favor and know somebody else's story. So the church grows larger and smaller at the same time. And this is what happened in the early church. In Acts 2:46 and 47, it says, "They worshiped together at the temple each day, and they met in homes for the Lord's Supper and shared their meals with great joy and generosity, and all the while praising God and enjoying the goodwill of all the people. And each day the Lord added to their group those who were being saved." So the early church did this, and we do it in an effort to have our church grow both larger and smaller at the same time. Now, small groups have certain responsibilities. There are certain things that small groups do each semester, and I want to go over those now. So what does your small group do? Your small group does three things. You meet together once a week, you serve together once a month, and you play together once a semester. So every week you have a meeting at a specific time and in a specific location, and you do that. You say for 90 minutes or for 2 hours, we meet right here. And this is the material that we cover, and we have those conversations, and that's your weekly group meeting. To be a small group, that's what you do. Second thing is that you serve together once a month. Now, in years past, we've had you, as those of you who've been small group leaders before, you know we've had you serve and worship at some capacity. we have stepped away from that, and now we invite you as a group, leader and your group as it gets formed, to find a place to serve twice in the semester. Whether that's here in the church, or whether that's in the community, or whether that's at a church event that is benefiting the community, we want you to serve together as a group in some capacity to reach some people that are in our church or that are outside in our community, and find a way to do that. So you meet together every week, you serve together during the semester, and then you also, at least once during the semester, you play together. Now in the fall, this is really easy. You have a Christmas party. It can be an early Christmas party because our semester finishes right around the beginning of December. So before all the madness of all the corporate parties and your neighborhood parties and all the church Sunday school parties, all that kind of stuff starts beginning, you can schedule your small group Christmas party to happen that first week of December, or maybe even into the second week in December. And you can celebrate your time together, because that's what that time is really about. It's about celebrating what God has done in your group over the past 10, 12 weeks. And when you do that, you are able to bring some closure to that time. And you begin to celebrate what God has done and look forward to what God will continue to do in your lives. So meet together once a week, serve together once a month, and play together once a semester. You as the small group leader is the next piece. This is what you do as the small group leader. You pray for your group once a day. Put your list somewhere, put your roster somewhere where you will see it every day, and pray every day for the members of your group. Then, on the day and at the time when your group meets, you lead that group through the content, through the material that you've selected and they have agreed to be a part of once a week. That's what you do. Then once a semester, you meet with all the other group leaders and myself, and we have our huddle. And that's on October 7th. And this semester it's on October 7th. And that way you can check in, answer any questions that you might have, set some redirections or whatever needs to be done to finish well in that semester. So meet with your team leader, that's me, once a semester. And then finally, what we really, really want you to do is find a way to start a new group from one of your group members for next semester. So be on the lookout for people in your group who have leadership potential to lead their own group in the spring or beyond. And when you, in order to do that, the best way to do that is to, as soon as you recognize that, ask them to help you lead 1 week and see what happens. See if they get into the rhythm of it. See if they get excited about it. Because then we can begin to multiply groups out from there. The next piece of the small group puzzle is the coordinator, a small group coordinator. This is someone within your group. Maybe this is the person that you think could lead a group next semester or in a year from now. But you want to select a small group coordinator who will do a couple of things. One is that they are preparing themselves to possibly lead a small group in the future. But secondly, they jump in with you to facilitate discussion. And thirdly, they pray for the entire group. And then each week, the coordinator does two things. They communicate to the whole group in two different ways. One is a reminder, either an email or a text, that says, hey, tomorrow or in 2 days, we have our next group meeting, and we really hope you're there. And just as a reminder, this is when we meet. And here's what we're studying. It doesn't have to be long, it doesn't have to be extensive, it just needs to be consistent so that you build in those, especially in the first few weeks of your group meeting, you build in that memory, that muscle memory for your group to come and be part. And then secondly, you want them to record, during the group meetings, you want them to record the prayer requests and then send those out via email to the entire group, and make accommodations for those who may not have email as a way to get those lists to them so your people can be praying for the requests that were specifically lifted up each time your group gets together. So those are the small group responsibilities. That's what your small group does, that's what you as the leader does, what your coordinator does, and the responsibilities that they have. We've got more content to cover, and we'll cover that in our next piece.